Generating charts and reports. Once the simulation is over, we are ready to generate, interpret, and present results using charts and reports produced by At-Risk. At-Risk can generate close to 20 different types of charts. We will stick here at this module to some of the most relevant ones. 59. With your cursor placed on cell N24, total profit, which is the most important output on the model, click on the Browse Results button on At-Risk's ribbon. This will generate the following histogram chart. Joe considers two threshold levels relevant to his annual business operation. On one hand, he needs at least $60,000 to maintain his household. On the other hand, he considers that anything beyond $120,000 a year would make it an astounding one, and he would feel gladly satisfied. 60. Thus, move your two delimiter or vertical lines respectively upon these two levels of $60,000 and $120,000. Alternatively, instead of dragging these vertical lines, you can always type in both quantities on top of the numbers respectively. The chart will now look like this. By reading the probability number to the left side of the $60,000 delimiter on the probability bar, there exists a 9.3% probability that Joe will not make it to $60,000. In other words, in one of approximately 11 possible outcomes, it will not be possible to cover for his household need. On the other hand, by reading the probability number to the right side of the $120,000 right delimiter on the probability bar, there exists a 28.6% probability that Joe will surpass his $120,000 goal. In other words, in approximately 3 out of 10 possible outcomes, Joe will make it what he considers an outstanding year under current conditions. On average, Joe may estimate an annual profit of over $102,000. However, his most likely scenario or model one is closer to $106,000, whereas his median scenario amounts to around $101,000. Remember, the median represents the point at which 50% of the possible results are smaller and 50% of the possible results are larger. The fact that these central points are somehow different occurs because there's a slight asymmetry on the distribution curve, read by the fact that the skewness factor is of 0.25. 61. Now, click on the tornado chart icon on the lower part of the graph ribbon. You will see that At-Risk displays 5 different types of tornadoes. 62. Select the first tornado, change in output mean. The following chart appears. This tornado chart so far will not help us too much on interpretation. By reading the top bars on the right, you will soon notice how the variables number of contracts and hours per contract for different months of the year become the most important variables that determine total profit. Since At-Risk only shows a limited number of top bars generated by its graphing engine, we cannot see here the relative importance of other variables. On the other hand, we would like to see a consolidated view of number of contracts or hours per contract or any other driving variable as a single input and not as separated variables for each month. The risk-make input function. 63. Place the cursor on top of cell N13 and click on the Insert Function button of At-Risk's ribbon. Go to Other Functions, Miscellaneous, Risk-Make Input Function. The following dialog appears. Excel will wrap around the previous sum formula with the Risk-Make Input function. When clicking OK, the cell should look like this. Equals Risk-Make Input, open parenthesis, sum, open parenthesis, B13, M13, close two parentheses. 64. Now, always on top of cell N13, click on the Insert Function button of At-Risk's ribbon. Go to Other Functions, Property, Risk Name Function. the following dialog box appears. 65. On the second slot where risk name input is written, change the text by clicking on the reference button and selecting A13. 66. Return to the previous window and click OK to close the addition of the function, which will now look like this. Equals risk make input, open parenthesis, sum, open parenthesis, B13, M13, close parenthesis, comma, risk name, open parenthesis, A13, close, two parentheses. 68. Copy and paste this cell down for the whole range N13 and 15, and also copy it again and paste it for the range N20 and 22. This will create artificial or synthetic input variables for each one of the 5 variables: number of contracts, hours per contract, hourly fee, fixed payroll, variable payroll, and administrative and marketing expenses. The risk make input formula specifies that the calculated value for formula will be treated as a simulation input, the same way as a distribution function. This function allows the results of Excel calculations or a combination of distribution functions to be treated as a single input in a sensitivity analysis, in other words, in a tornado graph. The distributions that go before or feed into a risk make input function are not included in a sensitivity analysis of the outputs they impact. In this case, the respective PERT and Poisson distributions for each month are excluded of the tornado chart creation individually. This avoids double counting of their impacts, since only the summarized made input variables will be considered an input. 69. Now, we need to run a simulation again for at-risk to properly treat the changes we just made.